And we are live and broadcasting here on a Monday night. Of course, going head to head with Alia and meeting wellness is going to be kind of rough, but we're here. We're going to do it. It will be okay. But hey, the after party or the late night on Monday night must go on. The show must go on. So here I am. I'm on and I'm ready to uh, talk and walk with those who would like to talk and walk about things we talk and walk about. Anyway, yeah, Monday. Non scale victories are, of course, highly welcomed. Let's go ahead and make sure we put that up here on the Chiron, and we'll put this up too. There we go. Hello, hello. Welcome back to the house of Scotty P. And hey, how you doing, buddy? Hey, if I need to clarify all that comment in my video, I'd be more than happy to. I'm not trying to throw you under the bus. Not at all. I'm sure you understand that. You know my heart, I suspect. How you been doing today? How's your body feel after that water bag workout? I know that was pretty significant workout for you there. Yeah, making sure I get all my technology working here. Got to plug my phone in, and I have to make sure that I have my phone turned down because I'm afraid I will get a phone call and it will blast out my eardrums because I get my phone goes directly to my hearing aids. Oh, I got you. No problem. No problem. I try not to be. Uh, I try not to be too sensitive. And let me turn that one up. Maybe I'm not going to turn that up because I'm doing the wrong thing. Have you ever done that? You're watching multiple things. Yeah. Anyway, body feels great. Hands slightly sore, but nothing crazy. Okay, great. Hey, do you ever go back and watch the video of your sparring just to check your form? I was just wondering. I got nothing to say about it. I just be a great opportunity. You get the hands up, get your elbows, get your body moving in, get the wrist turn, get the hip turn in there, bam, get the power going. Yeah, I don't fight. I'm not a fighter. I'm a lover. No. So, body feels great, hands good. That's awesome. That is awesome. So, what else is going on in your world? What's some non-scale victories for you today? I'm gonna wait till a few people pour in. The people have to get their notifications and stuff. I guess I don't know. I didn't put much out, but it is Monday night, and I've been jonesing to get back on ever since Friday or Thursday. Yeah. Hey, LCBB, how you doing? Oh, Laura. Okay. Oh, yes. I got you, Laura. I got you. The crazies. Yep. Part of my problem there is um, I'm Googleable, and I am what I am. I mean, you could take a picture of me and probably find me. You can do a search on. You can do a search on Google by images and stuff, and I would probably come up. So that's my reality, and that's okay. That's it. That's just what it is. What have you been up to? What are some non-scale victories for you? Hang on, let me get rid of this banner here. Boom, that. I don't like the Chiron. Bothers me. Let's throw this up there. There you go. A baggy feeling. That's not bad. That's how I feel about this shirt here, right here, right? See how I can just pick it up? It's a stretchy shirt, right? And I got this stretchy shirt because, well, I wanted to, have it stretch out over my body. But look, it fits on me nice and loose. It looks like the ocean threw up on my shirt, but that's my victory. So good, cool. Uh, Laura, yeah. Oh, thank you, thank you. The only question I have, I really do, and I know that Diane tried to look into it, but my lymphs are up a bit, my hemoglobin is down, my HCT, the hematocrit is down, as are my red blood cells, but they're down just a smidge. Could be a small infection, could be the asthma, could be I slept wrong on my head. I don't know, but it's all good. Thank you, thank you. Appreciate that. But I feel good. Um, I feel good, like I knew that I would. So good, so good. Ow. Okay, we're done. I just got done. I got back from doing the Monday night men's accountability group for my group of guys from church. We have to have been doing this for a solid 7 years now. I don't know. It's been a long minute, and we're reading the book of Revelations right now, so that's kind of a dicey one to read. So suffice it to be said, we enjoyed our time, and we read and we studied, and uh, the gentleman who was leading the study said, "So, are there any questions?" Robert Bubba Baker, hey there. Yeah, very little, very little. I loved your topic today, Bubba. I don't know if you noticed that, but I loved your topic today. And I know you watched the video and I went on about it. I didn't mean to go on quite that long, but that's an important topic. I really think so. So what's we have got here? What's it saying? Cooking dinner, watching. That's great. Oh yeah, my accountability group, man. I tell you what, we have been through some things. We had a gentleman who was a part of our group who, said all the right things, did all the right things, was all the community things. Got a call one day. He was caught up in alcoholism. Yep. And called me on the way to a in residence check in on his own. But he was 3 sheets to the wind, did that, was pretty good, fell back down again, went in, and now he's been years clean, but he knows it's a fight every day. But that was part of that group thing, working to. Yeah, you noticed it for sure. I bet you did, Bubba. But yeah, just but that's that accountability group. We had a few people. Well, I hope you don't have an emergency, and through this low carb and high protein and proper human diet, I think that that will be great for you to keep the doctor away. I think that's great. And you can go to LabCorp and get lab tests. A lot of them at a fairly reasonable rate. So if you got questions, you can know, right? But I want to touch on what Bubba had in his video. I don't know if you all watched Bubba's video today. I don't want to belabor the point, but I was highly motivated to comment about it, and I know other people were as well. I just found that the issue is that it is too easy to gosh, how do I say this discreetly? It's not really my strong suit, right? But it is too easy to get caught up in the I got to be careful here. I want to make sure I use my words. It's too easy to get up on and involved in calling on people, right? And calling them out for decisions they're making. Matter of fact, Shelly 365, she put out a little thing about people who judge people without understanding for their action, not understanding the reasons of the people. So, oh no, I have no idea what that. Stand by. I just was. I'm still just. I am still just coming on. I've only been on for a few minutes here, so stand by for news. There's the link. There you go. No. You know me. Everybody can hop in. I just started, and Woodster was on, and then LC came in. So yeah, we're just getting this party started. I think that was a song. Let's get this party started. Yeah, that's not the melody, I know, but you know what I'm talking about. I'm not in this all by myself. But no, I think that was a great topic and timely topic, and I think other people are sensing the same thing. I want to say that at least I could be wrong. I would say approximately 3 weeks ago, I started talking about this idea about not becoming that which we resent in other groups. Wrong, maybe, right, maybe, but in the end, we want to be not just inclusive. I don't want to just say inclusive, but we definitely don't want to be exclusive through the tools of either bullying or demeaning or anything like that. Because I don't think there's any progress, any money, any hay to be made by doing that. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I'd welcome your thoughts and inputs, but I've always wondered how people would say, "Hey, I'm going to be this wonderful, inclusive, huggy person," but in my hugs, I'm slipping knives in between. Oh, look at that! I had a little hollow in my arm there. Thought first it was flapping fat, but hey, look at that, a little hollow. Wow, that's cool. Sorry, I just noticed that. Hang on there, Robert. There you go.
How's
You're
it
in.
going?
It's going, brother. How about you?
Good, good. So I guess I made you think today.
You make me think every time you put out something.
Well, I think it's important that we hold ourselves accountable to a higher standard than what we're against.
Well, you're right, and it goes. It's congruent with this effort we're making to remodel our entirety of who we are. Right? I mean,
Hmm.
the we, let me slow down to revamp the standard American diet. That means that we are running against the grain of, for better or worse, brainwashing by multiple agencies, right? And I mean agencies, not just government, but like the banking and big business and big agriculture and big pharma and big government, right?
Hmm.
So if we're going to say, hey, I'm not going to follow that, then that means we have to find something else to follow because we are following people. If I've ever known of anything, people like to follow something.
Hmm.
So in that whole process of revamping ourselves, what good would it do for us to fall into the habits of those that were in that matrix, if you want to say, if you're in the matrix, so
Hmm.
then you're doing the behaviors um, that therefore um, kept you in that situation. So
Hmm.
let's identify the behaviors up front and say, okay, I know what I don't want to be. Maybe I don't know what I want to be, but I can say what I don't want to be for sure.
Hmm. See, there is one thing that kind of always sticks to my mind, and it's a part about the Stoicism. I think it was Epictetus that brought it up, but if you really want to know somebody, you take a look at their six closest friends. So if
Oh,
if we have people in the community that are mocking others because they're different to get clicks or views, it actually shames us all.
it does. It does. You're right.
So I mean, it's not. I mean, I guess. I mean, I've watched some and I've done it myself, and it can be kind of funny at times. I mean, a little bit of tongue in cheek, but when it gets right down to it, all seriously, that if you want to be taken seriously and you got to be accountable to yourself and treat people like you wish to be treated. And just because somebody else does it doesn't mean that you should. And that we all need to be as strong as we can to turn the other cheek with it. Because how can you battle somebody on YouTube? You can't. The worst, the most powerful thing you can do is to delete. So why even let people's words or actions affect you that where you may do the same as them just to get payback? It makes no sense.
You're absolutely right, and I'm liking what the comments are saying and what LC is saying. Um,
Mm-hmm.
LC is saying that but if I put up there on screen, realize you have no idea what a person is going through. It makes them show you so you can see. So I can see you're having a bad day. Hope it gets better. I think that the whole idea, to me, and maybe I'm wrong, right? But to me, I always found those people who would denigrate, let's say, a former husband, a former wife, former person they had a relationship with, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you denigrate that person, run them down, aren't you in a way denigrating yourself, right?
Yeah,
Or
because
at least denigrating the professed love?
it's not about them, it's about you at that point.
That's right.
So
So,
I mean, it's I've been through it myself, and I've had to learn my lessons. But we have to continue to grow as better human beings every day, and try and be cognizant of the fact and try not do those things. Because if something really hurts you, you got to take a look at why it hurts you and
mhm.
then deal with it. And usually, if it's just the word, then well, it really shouldn't be bothering you, except maybe the initial impact, and just move on.
Well, I'd couple that with two thoughts. One I've said before, which is it's not what I think, it's not what you think, but it's what I think you think that
Mm-hmm.
drives a lot of things, right? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
we operate on a lot of assumptions, very, very, very more often than we would like to admit.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing is, we are all too quick to pick up offenses. So,
Mm-hmm.
somebody like my wife and I, we had this agreement early on in our marriage that has morphed a little bit because we're more mature and things. But what we basically came up with is, let's say you come home from work after a hard day. Either I had a hard day at the job, or she had a hard day with the children, right? And so you get a little snippy, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what we basically say is, hey, you just threw a knife at me. Here I'm gonna hand it back to you. You know, is there a reason for this? In other words, try to have that grace or that understanding that, like what was said earlier by the Sanya or something, or by Laura, is that you don't know what someone's been through that day. Let them trip the wire, understand what's going on, and then absorb it, right? And then
Mm-hmm.
go forward. Don't pick up that offense and then be reactive and responsive to that thing, that one moment, and then blow up. Because when I was young, my dad would come home from work after a full day of doing army in, right? And the first words out of his mouth, more than half the time, is, "What did those damn kids do today?" And my mom would spin him up, right? And all of a
Mm-hmm.
sudden, all hell would break loose and the discipline would happen. What I didn't know then, and what I didn't know till about maybe 10 years ago or more, my mom was an alcoholic.
Mm-hmm.
She was manipulating. She was an alcoholic. It took me years to figure that out and other things. So I love my mama. Don't get me wrong. She
Mm-hmm.
was a wonderful person, and now I have more grace in my heart for her. But the idea is, I think we're all that way to some degree, more or less, unless we really actively work on it. And I think
Mm-hmm.
carnivores who are working on their body, who are working on all these aspects, like you're not only working on your eating, right? But you're working on exercising and strength and your mental state.
Yeah, everything. It's a
Yeah,
complete package. If you don't work on the complete package, I believe it's a success for a failure. That's actually what kind of causes me concern with people when I watch other channels, and I'm not going to mention names or nothing, but it's very, very important to become a complete person, put those things in place, at least mentally and physically, where you can deal with those triggers. Because if you don't, and you just leave it to whatever without having that skill set, what are you going to do when you fail?
True.
Right? So how are you going to pick yourself up? I mean, it's I don't know. It's a process. You have to learn well enough to, when it's time to leave things in the past and move on, and don't let those things in the past define you as the person that you are. I mean, I haven't had the easiest life by no means, but if I hadn't gone through what I've gone through, seen the things that I've seen, and done the things that I've done, I wouldn't be the person that I am today. So
Yeah.
I have to be thankful for that. At least that's the way I view it. I was doing a job last year. I'm not sure if my friend's going to watch this, but anyways, I'll tell the story. I'll leave the names out. So, anyways, he was having a lot of issues with anxiety, and he lived about 45 minutes away from where we're working. And I told him, I said, well, you better come to work for me and do the best you can, and I'll pay you cash and all this stuff. And so basically, every lunch hour, when he came, he could only do 4 or 5 hours at a time because his anxiety was so bad he had to leave early to beat the traffic. And it was almost financially, I guess it wasn't really the best move for him. And but every time we broke for lunch, I bought him lunch, and we'd sit for half an hour, and I would talk to him about things, and he'd talk about his issues growing up, being Aboriginal, and he was blaming, and rightfully so, the issues that have happened to him in his life based on the residential school system up here, what his mom went through, and he had it tough, like, I mean, really tough. And I just said to him, I said, well, you're a good man, you're a kind man. I said, you wouldn't be the man you are today unless you went through that.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, maybe appreciate the pain, because, because of what he went through, he got himself in a 12-step program, and he's helped many, many, many people to
Good.
sober up. And he's a good man, and if I ever have a problem, all I have to do is phone him or a text, right? And we
Right.
always check in once another. But it's the same with the carnivore thing. You've got so much stuff going on in the past. You got to embrace it and let it go, and be thankful for the person that you've become. Because if we all didn't have a past, or going through something or some sort of trauma, it wouldn't have led us to this movement in the first place.
Exactly. And I think you're encapsulating some critical aspects of our personal development. And the thing that sticks out is we're brought here by a series of events.
Mm-hmm.
We shouldn't, quote unquote, poo-poo those, right? Because they are the fire which has refined us and tempered us, so to speak, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what I find that is challenging in the journey for myself is to remember that the tools and the techniques or the crutches I had at one part of the journey
Mm-hmm.
aren't necessarily the ones I need at this part, right?
Right.
And so I don't want to call it laziness. I really want to stay away from super highly charged negative terms. But what I'll say is familiarity, right? I like
Mm-hmm.
to use the idea of, hello there, Bold, good to see you. I like to use the idea that I can use a claw hammer
Mm-hmm.
to take a screw out of wood.
Mm-hmm.
but it's not great for the screw. It's not great for the wood, right? There's a better tool for the moment. And I've also realized that being able to use a tool and to use it well is sometimes better than to have all the new tools. So there's
Mm-hmm.
a balance there. Like, I was a weather forecaster, and so was another gentleman here, the Desanya. He was a weather forecaster. We went to the same school at the same time, and we're going to figure out a few things here over the time. But I have found that with the computer age, right, we have so many numerical models, so many forecast tools, but our ability to forecast the weather in certain aspects did not improve. It may have gotten worse because people are relying on the tool to do the work instead of using the intuitive nature of the brain.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think it's the same way with our bodies and what we do, right? There are
Mm-hmm.
better tools as we move along and learn. And sometimes like I just have a guy now, we're building putting in and installing a fireplace on my pavilion.
Mm-hmm.
The gentleman who's helped me is a framer. He grew up being a framer. He made a living as a framer, went in the military, got out. He's retired. He flips houses. He does lots of beautiful work, right?
Mm-hmm.
I brought out all my tools. He brought his literally 40-year-old saw, hand saw, what do you call those? Circular saw?
Yeah.
Thing weighed at least 25 pounds,
Yeah.
right? Doesn't need a set. It doesn't need a work table. He puts it on his foot, holds his hand, goes right through the 2x4, and it's perfect every time, right? He has
Mm-hmm.
learned how to use his tool better than having to go buy $1,000 chop saw and table, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes the tool you have that you can master may be the best tool. Other times you need new tools.
Well, a carpenter is only as good as his tools, and tools are only as good as the carpenter.
That's true. That's true. Said the
Right?
man with 9.5.
Yeah.
All
But I don't know. I got a funny story that's come to my mind,
right.
and it's kind of on a different topic. But a few months ago, I was sitting in Starbucks. I hope this doesn't offend anybody, but I was sitting there reading the Meditations of Marcus Aurelius,
Right.
and I had this ball cap on my head. And this ball cap was sent to me from my cousin's son in Alberta, who had something to do with one of the motorcycle clubs, the big one.
Okay.
And it said support Hillside. So I'm wearing this ball cap and I'm sitting in Starbucks reading the Meditations of Marcus Aurelius. And this group of people came in, and I recognized them before, and they were all Jehovah Witnesses. So the guy, right away, he looks at my ball cap. And he's looking at my ball cap, and I'm sitting there, and I could see he wants to come talk to me or convert me or do whatever he wants to do, right? So he sits across from me. He says, "What are you reading?" I told him what I was reading. Oh, I said, "Do you know why I'm reading it?" He goes, "No, why?" I said, "I'm studying Stoicism. I'm trying to be a Stoic like this, right?" And he goes, "What's that?" So I had to explain to him what a Stoic was. And as I'm explaining, he's looking at the book, and I'm explaining what the book is. He keeps looking at the book, meaning he's looking at the hat, going up and down, up and down, up and down, right? He says, "Well, I'm Jehovah Witness." I said, "Yes." He goes, "You don't mind talking to me?" I said, "No. Why would I mind talking to you?" Oh, he kind of had this curious look, right? I said, "I don't have a problem with talking to anybody." He said, "Do you have a problem with talking to me?"
Though, you bring up a wonderful facet of human nature and personality. You
Yeah.
know, we're designed wonderfully, and we have some really unique mental how does it survival habits,
Mm-hmm.
right? That are, I believe, are hardwired in us, right? And
Mm-hmm.
one of those things is within a few seconds of a person walking into a room, we've assessed and assigned friend or foe.
Mm-hmm.
And in doing that, we spend the rest of the time we meet that person either reinforcing the initial assumption, friend or foe,
Mm-hmm.
or working to deconstruct it.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have a person reading what you're reading and wearing the hat that you're wearing and probably sitting in the attitude you're sitting, right?
Mm-hmm.
What we basically have is a conundrum, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that drives conversation.
Oh yeah, it was blowing his mind, especially when I explained to him what it was
It
about.
went mute. What happened?
I said it blew his mind.
Yeah, okay.
And when I started talking to him, he wasn't he 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 had absolutely no idea what I was talking about. But at least it sparked an interest in him. Maybe that'll cause him to think a little bit. But we need to be think out of the box a little bit, and we need to be accepting of others. And because I think we're all trying to get to the same place, but sometimes it's just from a different direction.
Yeah, it's just this idea that I think we miss out on a lot of opportunities to really enrich our lives because of this constant back and forth of friend or foe. Hello there, Lindy. Good to see you. Welcome back. Welcome back. How is it going down under? We've got Canada, America, and Australia in on it. That's
Yeah.
great. Yeah. So yeah, but I really do think that we lose out on a lot of things, and most of the time, and I'd like your opinion on this, but we act on a lot of ignorance, and that's a terrible thing to take an action predicated on ignorance when we're not really, for most of us, in a survival mode that would demand that. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're very reactive as a species, right?
Yep.
And it's kind of sad because that's how people get manipulated.
Well, I think that the issue is just in this community, in this environment with YouTube. I mean, let's be honest, Bubba, you and I would never have met,
No, we wouldn't have.
and we wouldn't have met the fine people here. I never would have seen Desanya, who I went to school with, and we're having a sidebar about when we were in military weather school,
Mm-hmm.
and so the question comes into mind is, and it links back, I think, to what you initiated today, and is that we don't I don't want a closed, inward focused community,
Mm-hmm.
but rather instead one that, and I try hard not to use the whole buzzword bingo thing here, but a community that embraces and encourages people to come in and converse about things, right? Or discuss, because the whole root word of converse or conversation means to convert. I'm not trying to convert anybody. I'm just
Mm-hmm.
trying to learn from people here, right?
Well, that's the whole key to it. And it's funny. It's I know I was on JT's thing Friday night and joking around about the calendars stuff, and at the end, he always asks, do you have something you want to share?
Hmm.
And the topic was brought up of how they appreciate people not being competitive, and I said, no, I said not me. They're looking at me, right? I said, no, I'm I am highly competitive.
But
I said,
competitive with yourself.
yeah, I said, but I have to turn that into myself. I said, I'm not here to compete with anybody on a
Right.
YouTube basis. But if I don't have a compete level with myself and set goals and want to succeed, I'm just treading water.
So would it be fair to say that different people would define that, would arrive at the same place, defining it using different terms?
Possibly.
That's, I think that's where I know I am competitive in a small sense,
Mm-hmm.
but I am not. So I don't have internal discipline.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I'm hedonistic by nature,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm so anti-confrontational that it's problematic.
Mm-hmm.
So those those traits made me a really good bouncer,
Mm-hmm.
because my go-to is not violence. My go-to is a sense where the danger is, to sense where problems is, to diffuse it, to read people
Mm-hmm.
and stop it and head it off before it becomes a physical outburst that then is problematic in a large crowded room, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think that reasonable people with under the bell curve minds and attitudes and personalities can arrive at the same location using completely different thought processes,
Mm-hmm.
and all of them are equally right.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I just think that for myself, anyways, if I don't set up a goal that I
Mm-hmm.
want to attain, like I have to have that. And that's just, whether it's a weight thing or to be healthier, or, whether it's a sporting thing or something, right? That's just kind of what I have to do. And with me knowing who I am as an individual, I can use that to my advantage to succeed, right? So,
Well, yeah, absolutely. There's no and if or but about. But I think it's interesting that that different people can utilize different self motivation techniques
mm-hmm,
to get there. But I think you are bringing up an important topic, is we really probably should get in contact with our competitive nature.
mm-hmm. Do you ever watch any motivational videos?
I have once or twice. I'm not. I wanted to be a motivational speaker, but I've never
Mm-hmm.
really thought I had the chutzpah to do it. But yeah.
There was some stuff put out by Dorian Yates.
Oh, I remember Dorian Yates.
Yeah, and it wasn't, I think it was Machiavelli Motivation or something. And there's
Okay.
some pretty hardcore. And when I need to get myself fired up for the gym, I'll watch those, or I'll put them on the stereo in the pickup truck and just listen to that to get myself going to get down there.
Right.
And that's just kind of what I have to do. But that's another tool in the toolbox, if you know about it, that you can use to get yourself going.
True. Now, let me ask you this question on motivation then. And I'm going to bring David S. David S. Huh. Almost bring him in. Okay. Hold on, David. Um, Hey, David, how you doing?
Hey, good, good, good.
Well,
Yeah, I just thought I'd drop in, man. I've been watching your videos this week.
thank you, thank you. I want to tie up a little bit of a conversation real quick with Bubba here on that motivation stuff, and I think motivation is important, and I understand where you're thinking and where you're coming from. I think, uh, but I know that motivation comes from, or is the wellspring for different people in a lot of different ways, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that. it's probably part of that whole tool set conversation we were having earlier, that what
Mhm.
might motivate you in the gym may not motivate you in the classroom, if that makes any sense.
No, that's true.
And so a level of sophistication is incumbent upon us to utilize it, because really, in the kitchen you're going to have one motivation. In relationships you might have another one. In the gym, a different one completely. And the level of maturity within us is going to be stressed, i.e., grown,
Mhm.
to acknowledge that, because it wouldn't be good. Do you remember? I don't know if you saw these commercials. I don't know if they're 10, 15. It's got to be 15, 20 years ago. Wow, closer to 20. Yeah. Terry Tate did the office thing where he
Mhm.
would tackle people like an American football type of way.
Office
Mhm.
linebacker.
Yeah. I told you to put the coffee in the coffee pot. You know what I mean? Type thing, right? And
That was
I love that.
awesome.
But we know in reality that's not office. That's not office motivation. But I agree with you. There are times though that I need to be more competitive and more disciplined, and so then I'm going to have to learn how to use that toolbox.
Yeah, I think it's the key to it is knowing yourself and knowing what makes you go.
Yeah. Other than X-Lax.
Yeah.
All right, David, come on in here. Talk to us a little bit. What's going on here, buddy?
Yeah, I was talking about the vegans, and like that you ever heard that there's a joke, you when you meet a vegan, you'll know they're a vegan within the first couple of minutes because they will let you know immediately. And I mean,
Sure.
they're confident, like people that are vegans, they're confident in their diet. They're happy. I mean, most of them. I mean, we've most of them became vegan because they were eating the standard American diet. So just going vegan is going to be an improvement. I mean, it might be
To
a
a point.
short term, right?
Yeah.
It's going to be an improvement because they're not, if they're eating, a whole food vegan diet, they're not going to be eating a lot of sugar. They're going to be eating fruits and vegetables for the most part, a lot of tofu for their protein and pea powder, pea protein. But I mean,
Mhm.
I don't want to get in the weeds about it, but they're confident in their diet and they're gonna feel good initially. Um, but for the most part, they're very confident that they're doing the right thing, just as we are. So, like as long as they're not, I really don't mind, if that's how they want to, if that's diet that makes them happy, that's fine.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna, I really don't, because I've watched vegan videos and I don't get into comments and say, look, your diet's wrong, and this is why. I really don't get in the comments at all. I just, it's like I watch some of their videos. I try to get a grasp of, what type of nutrition they're after, but I don't, I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna get combative and confront them about it. But on the other hand, the activists in the vegan culture are working very hard to remove our food supply, the beef that we like, the chicken that we like, the pork that we like. And I'm more concerned about that than the typical vegan, YouTuber who like there's a lot of typical, vegan YouTubers that they're just vegans, they're not very much into the activism part, maybe a little bit, but they're not like the leadership level in the vegan crowd that really want to eliminate our food. Now those people I have a problem with, and I don't mind debating them, but usually YouTube is not the place for the debate unless you can do an actual video together. But hashing it out in the comments, it doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah, flame wars are never positive. I know I'm going with my age there when I say the word flame wars. Some people may not understand that,
Yeah.
but I agree with you. wholeheartedly, and would submit that in the YouTube universe of carnivores, perhaps, and Bubba, I'd like your input here in a minute, is that perhaps what we're saying is, let us be properly equipped, properly properly prepared in our mindset, right, in our thought process for engaging and bringing on people who are in the discovery phase, the people who are looking for, hey, I need something that's going to work for me. And I've heard a lot of great things. I saw Joe Rogan. I've seen Dr. Barry, Dr. Baker stuff, but those people are, beyond my ability to understand and grasp, right? So
Yep.
in that grassroots, we don't want to be tamping out people's potential improvements. In politics, I had to deal with that because I had to do a lot of grassroots works before I could get elected, and I found that a lot of people in the grassroots will become those activist type people, whether they're because it's the newness of the and their excitement, like we were talking about, David, with a vegan maybe, or a new carnivore, and you would probably lose more people. And I don't mean to say we lose more advocate people, but we lose more people who I believe would be healthier. So let's say there's a standard American diet, and there's all these other things around it, whether it's being ketogenic, or it's being a vegan, or it's being a fruitopian. I don't know what they call it, fruity
Yeah.
version of fruit, right? But
Yeah.
but a whole
Fruitarian.
food, paleo, right? All those things.
Yeah.
Our energy to be right, our energy to help, could stamp out and overpower the willingness to give it the. What do you think? At least 30 days, 60-day trial period?
Well, what I think is a man should never tell you what he is; he'll show you, right? So if we're doing this and we're healthy, that's going to be the proof in the pudding. You don't have to say anything; it's going to be right there.
That's true, but let's look at carnivore kip in the beginning. Let's look at intentional
Mm-hmm.
carnivore in the beginning. Let's look at any one of, even yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're 6 weeks into this, so by 6 weeks into it, you're starting to feel mental clarity. You have reduced inflammation. You're starting to get those first fruits,
Mm-hmm.
right? But we're not looking emaciated or whatever the person's looking for, right? When you look at Kelly Hogan, you see like the before and afters, right? If you look at intentional carnivore, that'd be Sean, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're looking at Sean, you're going, wow, I want a pound of whatever he did, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when you're looking at me or you're looking at you, you're going to go, well, I don't know. So we're kind of, I'm not going to say at a disadvantage, because we're in the mix. We're in the fight. And I've heard people tell me, oh, I like going to your channel because you're in the fight and you're not so elevated and complete, so to speak, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think a lot of people, you can sit there and say all you want to, I'm in this and I'm loving it, but if you don't look like it, so the next thing that happens is they judge you on the words you're using. And I think maybe that's part of the man or the person you're talking about, the character, the
Mm-hmm.
nature of the character of the person. Do you want to follow a person who's denigrating everybody else? Nah, not really.
No,
Right.
not at all. I just think that what was I going to say here? The other thing too is people get attracted by sensationalism. So when they see something that's quite a drastic shock, right? What's that? So, they're attracted to it right away. But what happens is that's only going to last so long. if there's no substance to the individual, nobody's going to follow them. I mean, all you have to do to prove that is to track YouTube channels and see what's going on with them. You know, it's not about your subscribers. It's really about your viewing, your hours, your time, things like that. You know, so
I agree. What do you got to say about all this, Mr. David?
Yeah. The for the most part, I've been on Carnivore for about almost 9 months now, and I mean, I'm almost bottomed out. I wasn't very overweight when I started. I mean, I was overweight, yeah. Like I was about like just to gauge my height. I'm 5'8", so I'm not really a tall person. Weighed about 215 when I started. Now I'm down about 174. You know,
Okay.
and the weight loss at this point is kind of bottomed out, and I'm much more slimmer than I was. You know, my waist is pretty narrow now, back to like almost my high school weight actually. But most of the time, I really don't tell people that. You know, I don't go out and say, hey, I'm carnivore. You know, I don't eat. I You know, a lot of people just ask me, hey, what, you know, you lost a lot of weight. What you do? You know, I'm like, well, I just, you know, I'll tell them exactly what I did. I'll usually say I did a type of keto diet, and then they'll say, wow, what kind of food did you eat? I'm like, well, I ate a lot of beef, I ate a lot of pork, chicken, you know, minimal amounts of vegetables. I didn't really eat any plants. And then later on, I'll tell them like, and then later on, I kind of narrowed it down to just, you know, beef, eggs, bacon, some cheese, some milk, you know, and I mean, if they want to know, like, well, you know, if they want to know, like, where can I learn more about it? I have a nice list of things that I keep, you know, like, you know, the big, I call them the heavy hitters in the carnivore world, you know, Dr. Chafee, Dr. Berry, you know, and if they want to get into the into the
Details, the
microbiology,
weeds.
if they want to get into the weeds, I'm like, okay, Dr. Nadir Ali, you know,
Yeah.
and that where, you know, you can really learn about lipids and your metabolism, and even there's a few videos by Professor Bart Kay, where he talks about the complete metabolic, the Randall cycle,
Hmm.
and exactly how your body metabolizes um, a low carb, high fat diet versus a vegan diet, where he shows that they will both work. The end result will be both will work. Unfortunately, on the vegan side, you're going to be lacking many nutrients, and you're going to end up starving yourself. It'll work, but it's short term. You know, he shows how they both work and how you really should mix the two. Like, you know, eat a lot of meat, a lot of carbs, and he kind of shows on there. He really gets into the weeds, and it's very interesting. And I had a couple of friends that really like getting into that, and I said, well, you want to watch this video, and you want to watch Dr. Nadir Ali, and you know, do you want to, like, I had a couple of, like, I'm really involved in bike and cycling. I do a lot of biking, and a couple of my friends that wanted to get involved in this, I turned them on to a couple of cyclists that did endurance riding, and they were carnivores, and they kind of explained how the diet worked, and kind of went at it from the athlete's point of view, you know. So I mean, it's kind of nice to keep a lot of sources in the back of your head, you know, so that when
Yes.
people ask, you know, because sometimes if you explain it to them, you know, you can't really get. Sometimes I have a hard time explaining it to somebody, so I'll just say, hey, look, I'll send you a couple of videos that can really kind of give you a primer what the diet's all about, you know. And I
Yeah.
actually, Dr. Baker's book is excellent. You
Well,
know,
I don't know if you've heard, and I know that we're having some intermittent problems. I don't know where it is, but it is what it is. We'll stick to it. Dr. Stephen Finney, have you seen his stuff?
I'm not familiar with. They say this,
Okay.
you learn something new every day.
So Dr. Stephen Finney is one of those guys who's a a postdoctoral guy, and he was really big in the keto world. So if you look up Dr. Finney and you go to early like Breckenridge, keto, Breckenridge, keto down under.
I'm familiar with both of those. Yeah.
Okay, and Dr. Stephen Finney, he's the guy who took, and I'm gonna get wonky, so please bear with me. He's the one who was brought on board. He has a whole business. I'll remember the business line he has, but he's the one who took people who do these super endurance activities. He took a couple, and there's a race. I can't believe it, but there's a race where people get into rowboats and row from like San Diego or San Francisco to Hawaii.
Wow. Yeah.
And then they get to load up their catamaran or whatever they use, not catamaran, but the rowboat, and they load it with whatever they want to, but they cannot reload the whole race. So he worked on them to get them fat adapted,
Mm-hmm.
and in doing so, I mean, he packed peanut butter and oil pretty much on this boat, and he got them fat adapted. They didn't beat the record by hours or minutes, but by weeks.
Yeah.
They actually got stronger as they went on, right? I loved it. And there's another one, Dr. D'Agostino. I don't know if you heard of Dr. Okay. I like his work because with my military work, he found that when a person's running on ketones and you're a diver, he's also an aquanaut, that when you're a diver, you can dive deeper and longer without getting oxygen
Deprivation.
it's not the opposite of it, because when you put a rebreather
saturated.
on,
I think you like.
yeah, when you put a rebreather on,
Yeah.
and you're doing a long dive and deep, because you all know pressure, right? That people can endure deeper dive go much deeper and much longer in the special operator world. And he actually built ketones. Most of the ketones you have are one form. He built another one that tastes horrible, but he can put you deep into ketosis in hours. So a special operator could pop these very nasty, I don't know if they're esters or what they are, but they're ugly, nasty tasting things. And you can go much longer and much harder. Yeah. And this is what our special operators are doing. This is the science.
Yeah.
Right. So I just want to bring that to you when you talk about deep dives. Mm-hmm. You're right. Some people are motivated by those dives, and you do need to have information, because it's just like raising children. I can tell you something. I can tell my boys something till I'm blue in the face. Another guy comes along just like TV Dad. You've seen that commercial with the TV Dad. TV Dad tells him to get the insurance. Oh, that's a great idea. I just told you that. Well, anyway, I think that happens a lot in any space. It doesn't matter where you're at.
Yeah. Well, one of the good things about a lot of the doctors that are proponents of carnivore or even keto is that, you know, in a lot of their presentations, they use good slides. Whereas, you know, when you're talking to somebody, you don't have that advantage, you know, but when somebody watches a video, especially like, you know, with some of the Dr. Chafee's videos where he was presenting for low carb down under or such as, you know, they've got great slides. So you get a good visual.
Yeah, like Dr. Bickman, the godfather of everything fat metabolism, right? That's a lot better, I think, than the beefcake that Chafee does sometimes. Here I am, I'm slicing a 42-pound prime rib in my bikini underwear. You know, I'm like, really? Come on.
Well, wait, is that Chafee or Dr.
Chafee.
Yeah, okay, I've never seen him.
He does a topless one, but no, the other doctor, the fruit doctor, right?
Yeah, that's the one I was thinking of. He's typically
Paul
shirtless.
Saladino,
right?
But see, this is where I think we need to be very careful. Dr. Saladino, first of all, he's a psychiatrist, still a medical doctor, but a psychiatrist.
Yeah, right.
But that dude is buck wild, crazy, strong. All right, he's not me. Right? He can go ahead and ingest 200 grams of honey and be just fine. right?
Right.
I'm not going to be fine. I'll be comatose if I
Yeah.
did that. So I think that's why I'd like to make sure that we continue to discuss things in how would I say it, in scales, i.e. there's a better, there's a worse, there's, that type of thing, not in absolutes.
Yeah. I mean, he's still predominantly meat based and animal based. I mean,
Absolutely.
he does eat some fruits, and he does probably eats a lot of fruit and some honey, but for the most part, he's animal based. That's his primary food is meat and animal fat, and I can't ding him for that. I mean, I'm not big into eating a lot of fruit anymore. Um, it's just difficult for me to metabolize fruit.
Well, they do say that once you get off, or once you're into a deep carnivore keto lifestyle, right? Going right back into, let's not say sad, but let's just say more inclusive of carbohydrates, you're
Yeah,
automatically going to be insulin resistant because the beta cells are like, hey, I went to sleep, it's wintertime, I'm hibernating, right? Your body's not going to know what to do with it. So you'll still have the same net effect, but from a different genesis, if you would.
yeah, I agree. I don't know a lot about that. I do know, like, if I do know, like, once I start introducing carbs, especially like fruits, that very sweet sensation, it's gonna trigger, like, I want more carbs. I know where that goes, so I'm trying to avoid that, especially right now, because I mean, I haven't even been doing this for a year, so I'm trying to stay as strict as I can. I have some limitation. Like, I do like coffee. I drink a couple of cups of coffee a day,
I drink a pot
and
a day.
I drink, yeah, and that's the old Navy, or the old military background where he stayed up a lot of nights on coffee. But I do I do either drink it black or with some half and half, which is fine. One gram of carbs and 2 tablespoons of half and half. That's not a lot, so I mean, at most sometimes I might have 5 carbs during the day. You know, it's not a lot, minimal.
I think
So
your
I'm
liver, I
always
think you, I think your liver is quite capable of making more than that as you need it for through
yeah.
neoglucogenesis.
Well, well, just quickly say this: I ride a lot. I cycle about anywhere from about
Right.
185 to 205 miles a week. I used to be kind of on the competitive side, but I used to be, to do that, I used to carb up. Like, the night before, I'd
Mhm.
make sure I took in quite a few carbs. The morning before I got on the bike, took a lot of carbs, and then during the bike ride, I was carbing. And it took me a while to transition off of that, but I'm at the point now where the night before, I don't do anything except I might eat, like, at 4 or 5 o'clock. I might eat a meat dish, but definitely no carbs. And then the morning of, I just pack a bunch of water, some electrolytes, and head out. And I usually don't even eat breakfast. I'll do my ride, and I'm just drinking water and electrolytes on the ride. And sometimes we'll stop. After about 30, 40 miles, we'll stop for a quick break or something, and everybody's laying down in, energy drinks, carbs, the goo. We call it goo. It's basically
Right.
a very high carb, sugary, semi-liquid, and, like, everybody's just carbon up, and I'm not. And it's amazing how once you're fat adapted, I don't get bonked on these rides anymore. And that I used, when I was transitioning, I went through some stages where I was kind of bonked. But most of the time, when you feel like that, you're just running low in electrolytes. I figured out, and um, I every now and then, if it's a really long ride, like I've had some rides where we were like 85 to like 105 miles on a certain day. Um, I will bring some meat sticks. I don't know if you've ever heard of chomps or nick sticks. They're basically they're like Slim Jims, but they're grass-fed beef and fat and salt and maybe a couple of minor seasonings like black pepper or some kind of Italian seasoning to make it kind of Italian tasting.
Sure.
But I will eat a couple of those somewhere in the ride because I'm starting to just get hungry,
Right.
But and there's still zero carbs in it. But that was when a couple of my friends were like, well, asked me. There was a few people that had noticed that, and they're like, "Are you not taking any carbs?" I'm like, "No, I don't take any carbs." They're like flabbergasted, and it's
Well,
just amazing how quick it works.
well, I like to liken that to, I like to, when I speak, and I do a lot of speaking because I like to talk, I like to find analogies that work for the audience I'm speaking with, right? And I like to make it analogous to a vehicle that runs on diesel and a vehicle that runs on regular gas, MoGas, JP8, whatever you want to pick, right? And that as we're transitioning, you have different capabilities with different fuel sources, and you have trade-offs. If I want to put nitrous in a car, right, then I'm going to be able to go fast, get lots of power, but I'm going to burn through some cylinders pretty quickly. I'm going to have some challenges, right?
Your engine may not last long.
Right. So
Right.
I think it's inherent, and then that we tell people and we talk to people and things. Now, when you were talking about doing long distances, I mean, that Dr. Finney, if you go look him up, you're going to like his presentation. I feel
Yeah,
confident.
I jotted that down. I'm gonna look him up.
I think it's a Phinney.
Okay.
But the thing is, he was working with people, talking about people who are like ultra endurance runners now. They're
Yeah.
all smashing all the old records. They're not eating any carbs, no carb loading. They're all running on fat, and they're beating records by you know how it is in the world of sports. You could talk about tenths of a second, hundredths of a second, a couple of pounds, right? Tenths of a pound. No, these people are blown away by big margins, hours.
Do you
right?
know? Have you heard of Dr. Tim Noakes?
Yeah, oh yeah. Tim Noakes is in with that whole group. And I think they have I can't remember the name of the group of the company they have that they formed to discuss this. And I would love to hear Bubba talk about, has he heard of anybody using a non-carb load lifestyle for competitive lifting?
No.
I know there's some competitive bodybuilders that are carnivore.
That's not powerlifting, though.
There's no high-end carnivore bodybuilders out there, period. Not that I'm aware of. And the ones that are, if you compare them to somebody that's at an elite level or even a provincial or a state level, they're not even close.
Okay, so hey, Woodster asked, can we get some ages for the current speaking panel? Okay, I'm 61.
I'm 57.
I'll be 62 in a couple of months.
Okay, there you go, Woodster. I know you said never mind, but I wanted you to know that it's important for. I want to include the people also in the chat here. I want everybody to understand what we're doing here. This is a free form. I put the link out if you want to join up. I'm not doing an interview, or I'm not leading a battle cry. I'm just, hey, this is a place where like-minded people can come and talk about things of the day. So I just throw that out just as a reminder that we understand what we're trying to do here. We're just trying to talk about things that are important today. Bubba gave us a great video that says, hey, let us not become that which we detest, right, in our behavior.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk about non-scale victories. I talked earlier today. I put a video out. I'm looking at it right now without my glasses, but my total cholesterol was down 10 points to 186. My LDL was up a little bit. No, my LDL went down a good amount. My HDL went up. My triglycerides were up just at just 4 from 114 to 119. But the night before, I'd eaten my body weight, I think, in Texas Day Brazil meat.
Yeah.
So my body was probably still processing. I probably ate close to 4 pounds of meat. So I'm not worried about that. But the only thing, but my vitamin D went down to 27, from 66 to 27. It's way low. I'm going to have to supplement, I think.
It's kind of weird. I mean, usually, I wouldn't think you'd see a drop that fast, although you never know what. It could always be some other variable that did that. You get all
I
your
think,
vitamin D from the sun.
yeah, I have been doing a lot of, you can tell I'm a little pale for me. I've been doing a lot of YouTube, and I love YouTube, and hey, I'll do this, what I'm doing here, sometimes 3 and 4 hours a night, wake up late, stay in here making videos. So I need to get outside a little bit more. I got that, but and I can pick the vitamin D up of all the things that are low. That's my least worrisome blood marker. I didn't get my insulin test back, but anyway, those are some of the topics we were kind of discussing. And hey, David, if you got and Bubba, I know you had your birthday, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Should I sing happy birthday to you? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Okay. But some things that happened to you guys' day or week that I know you met a goal weight you wanted to for your birthday, Bubba. But any other NSVs today, yesterday, or recently for either one of you?
I wanted to ask Bubba real quick. How long have you been carnivore? It sounded. I thought Scott had said you had just recently started carnivore.
No, 6.5 months.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, I just wanted to make sure. And has your progress been pretty good? You've been happy with your progress?
Yeah, there's some things that I'm happy with. There's some things I'm not. I think it all depends on the severity of whatever damage we've done to our bodies in the first place.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm down. I think it's like 58 pounds.
Oh, that's excellent. Yeah.
So that's good. But I suffered from gout for many years, so I still have all that crystallization in my joints. So, it's quite painful to walk and things like that some days, and depending on the humidity.
Yeah.
So, I instead of walking, I'll spin the bike at the gym and do my workout and do some yoga and stuff. But I try and do as low impact as I can. But it's just kind of is what it. Things can only get so good.
Yeah, I try to concentrate all of my aerobic activity on low impact. Scott and I, we spent a lot of years in the military, and I did a lot of running, and I'm like tired of running,
Mm-hmm.
And I when I was young, before I joined the Navy, I did a lot of bike riding then, and I was getting kind of competitive, and then I had joined the Navy, so I kind of put all that aside for quite a few years and just kind of recreational road. But that's one of the things I like about cycling is that you can burn lots of calories, and you can really get your metabolism going without really doing a lot of joint damage. It's very healthy activity.
Yeah, that's for sure. I mean, fortunately, place where I used to go to the gym for years, they actually had an outdoor heated pool, and it was actually at a resort. And so what I used to do is actually walk in the pool every morning for a half an hour.
Yeah.
And that was really low impact, and man, that worked like a hot damn. I mean, it was great. But we can only do what we can do and where we can do it. So you got to make some adjustments with whatever your game plan is.
I know that you talk about aqua therapy, and we're fortunate. I have a pool out back, but my pool is 32 feet long.
Mm-hmm.
I can reach 8 feet standing flat-footed. So I literally kick off the wall, 7 strokes, I'm at the next wall, right?
Yeah, you're a tall guy.
Yeah, about 6'5". So what I did was I have a vest, a weighted vest that has sand packets. And what I do, with or without it, I figured I can't do a lot of aerobic type work and I'm not a very good swimmer, so let's not get carried away. what I found I could do to give myself additional stress, I put that vest on, and then I swim on one breath, one length, and back one length. And without the vest, I can do 10 laps. I'm not in a row, but I can do 10 laps, 10 back and forth without being overly fatigued. With the vest on, 5, and I'm like, okay, I need some O2. Get out of the water here. Make sure I know how to unleash this thing, because when we had the pool built, we only made it 6 foot deep at the deepest end, so I can stand up and be safe, right?
It's like
And
Dante Ferrigno. Ferrigno Freedom. He does a lot of rucks. He wears like a 40 or 50 pound weighted vest, and he takes kind of long walks with it. That's a good way. That's another good way. A little bit of resistance,
Oh, my army support time, I learned all about that ruck marching thing, and you're right. It's amazing. And I remember one time being deployed somewhere where it was very, 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 very cold, and we had snow. And I had to pick my foot up. When you're walking through snow, Bubba, maybe you know this. I know you're up there in British Columbia. You might see some snow in the mountains, but you don't drag your feet in snow that's really deep.
No,
you got to pick them up. So you're basically doing like a goose step march almost. And I burned a lot of weight that way. That's for sure. But
Hey,
go ahead.
no, I was going to say, I mean, I went through my spiel today with Carnivore Soldier. He actually did a veteran interview with me, and I think it's uploaded now. So I mean,
Okay.
if you're interested, you can see a little bit about my journey to where I'm at now, and a little bit of my military background. But yeah, I just wanted to put that out there. I don't have a YouTube channel, and I doubt if I ever will. I really do enjoy participating where I can, but I just love getting the information from YouTube. But I just don't have the I don't think I have the creativity and at least the time to spend doing some good quality edits, because I think making the videos is one thing, editing them, it takes time, to do a good video to draw an audience.
I don't disagree with you, because I don't spend much time in my editing. I mean, my editing is very sophomoric at best, and I
They have
just
some
try.
people that put out some good video. They have some people that put out some really highly edited stuff, man.
well,
Well, I know that Bubba puts out some great stuff.
yeah, but the one thing too, though, is some of these channels. I mean, they might film it, but then they might ship it off to an editing company, right, or a production company. So
Yeah, that's interesting. If they're doing that, then man, they must be some of these people that have giant followers. I can see them doing that because they might
They
have the
have to.
income. They may have the income to do that.
Well, I think I read somewhere where the biggest YouTuber there is, I think he goes by the Beast or Beast.
yeah,
Right?
Mr. Beast.
Mr. Beast. He has said in something I've watched, he said, look, he agonizes over the thumbnail long before he ever makes the video. But he says it makes a difference between 250,000 views
Yeah,
and 1.2 million.
yeah. I've read about a lot about how the YouTubers go through their whole process of doing the videos and all the analytics and that they study to figure out how long these videos should be, et cetera, et cetera. It's really interesting, the background on how a lot of these there was one, I think his name was Putty Tap. I mean, he had mega millions of followers. I think he's since been I don't think he's on anymore, but due to some legal issues, maybe from what I remember. But also there's another keto guy, Dr. Berg.
Yeah,
I've heard of him. He's got like 11 million followers, I believe.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been around for a long time, I think, too. I mean, I've seen some of his videos. I don't really follow him, but he has a lot of he must be drawing some serious income. I mean, when you have 11 million followers, you're probably getting some income on that. I would think.
So that brings us to a good point. I appreciate you doing that, David. I would submit that while we are engaged in quote unquote growing our channels, I'm engaged in just trying to re-wicker my body, re-wicker my life, and getting okay. So I was lucky enough to be in the limelight. Okay, I've been in the limelight through acting and being in movies. I've been in the limelight through owning a business that was popular. I was an ice cream man. I was fortunate to hold elected office.
Mm-hmm.
At this juncture in my life, it's more about doing two things. That's staying accountable to what I've engaged in, and then maybe sharing and caring about other people, right? So like right now, Susan's been in here talking about her non-scale victory. I love giving a platform for people to express themselves and to be lauded, because if we can just find um, a number of people who will do that, and we can worry about our neighborhood, so to speak, I think
Yeah.
this becomes a much better place than if I try to become a multi-million viewer platform.
Yeah. And then that's the other thing too, is I like watching the newer like I like watching the carnivore channels of just regular people like me who have just started doing this. They're just typical people, and they're trying to get their life in order through the diet, and I find those interesting to watch because they've been through exactly what I've been through. I mean, I know like Dr. Baker and Dr. Berry. I know that they also, like, especially Dr. Baker, he's talked about his past where he was very overweight and type 2, insulin resistant, you know, but at the same time, it's a little bit harder to relate to him at this point, maybe because he's almost at star status. It's a little bit different, but watching some of your videos, watching Carnivore Soldier and like even, Dante, Ferrigno Freedom, there's just regular guys and gals, I watch a couple of, there's another young lady that I watch. She's got interesting videos. It's Katarina. She was on last week with y'all.
Right.
She,
Right.
I like watching her videos. I mean, I relate to her because she's kind of going through some of the process that and every now and then I'm watching her videos and I want to say, I've been there, and I want to type out something like, hey, don't worry about it. That's going to straighten out, and
Right. Right.
get kind of caught up in some of these, I call it the regular people that are just still pursuing that, trying to get their weight or their mental, health in order, their gut in order. And it's interesting to kind of keep up with them. It keeps me motivated too, and helps me like, hey, I know I'm doing the right thing. So,
Bubba?
Well, I think there's a definite divide in the YouTube channels where there's the people that are they've gotten to the point there where they're chasing viewership and subscribers.
yeah.
And to me, that's not what's supposed to be main priority. I mean, my main priority is if I just want people to kind of think for themselves and do better for themselves. And if the channel takes off to where I'm actually doing something, that's all the better, I guess, right? But that's way down the road. And I think if you're chasing that dream too quickly, you're gonna be seen through quicker than I don't know, somebody at the strip club, right? I mean, it's
Well, I think you bring up a good point. We always would say in the military, putting putting the cart in front of the horse.
yeah,
I mean, the reason many of us are here in this carnivore space and on YouTube is we weren't doing well. We're trying this, and they were finding it's working. So we wanted to, quote unquote, I think, proselytize or evangelize what we're doing. But sometimes, or very often, it's easy to get caught up in those likes and those numbers, and to going to your phone first thing in the morning to see, hey, who liked me, and who, just like we did with Facebook, and other social media. So we'd be well served to remember why we started.
Well, I know that Mr. Beast, I've watched a few interviews with him, and he was talking about, I think it took him a year or two before he even got monetized.
Right.
And there's such a minor amount of people that even get to that point. But if you really watch things like vidIQ and things like that, how they want you to progress as a influencer, right?
Right.
One of the biggest mistakes is if you become successful extremely early, because you don't have the expertise or the catalog to back up what's going on.
Yeah. Well, that's like I have dabbled in the acting field, right?
Mm-hmm.
You get people who capture lightning in a bottle, and because I know we don't want to say this, but it's who you know, right? So you get included in the movie, so you got this great big exposure,
Mm-hmm.
but then you can't maintain it, and that's really exceptionally defeating if you're not mature enough through having gone through the battles. It's like what we might say in the military, being battle tested, right? Every plan's a great plan until you put it into action and get punched in the mouth. Then you got to figure out what you're going to do for plan C and other things. So the same things here. If your goal is to become super famous on YouTube and make lots of money, I don't think the carnivore diet space is the right place to be. I think the right place to be would be how to put on makeup or deal with products that people handle a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Pop culture.
Yeah, pop culture. I've noticed some tremendously talented. Like, I like music stuff. I'm not a musician, but I like it, and I watch things and I watch people. But I have learned over this last 10 years. I mean, I did Amway a long time ago. All right. Not sure if you know what Amway is, Bubba.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Okay. So I did Amway a couple times. I made a little bit of money. So I think they have a great model. But here's what I learned. The people selling things to help people get better at being salespeople made all the money, not the people pushing soap.
No.
So it's the same way. If you're on YouTube, or like I used to do another platform, I don't know how YouTube is about censoring people, but it was another application where you could be live and you could do the same type of thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what I realized was all they wanted was me to be on my phone for hours and hours and hours, and I was the product. Anything that's free, like YouTube's free, right? If it's a free app, you are the product. And we have to understand that when we're doing this YouTube, our job is to keep people captured, and particularly with their phones, so they can sell that data to other people, to other businesses, to do targeted marketing. That's the business model, and why they spend all the money they do. I mean, I wrote a bill one time to capture, and I was successful. I took all the Yahoo server manufacturing out of the state of Oregon and brought it to the state of Nebraska, right? They built this huge server farm complex. And now they've used that bill to build many, many more of them for other companies like Facebook and everything else, right? And Google. And the idea there is all that data harvesting and data hosting is because they're drilling and mining and selling it off. We are actually in this situation in the matrix, no joke, because they're taking all the data and selling it off. We are the product. The question I tell people is, will we knowingly, being the product, try to manufacture a benefit for ourselves? Right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I have to remember. I am here for accountability purposes so that I maintain what I could not do. Now, I don't know about you, David, but for me, I have no internal discipline almost at all. I thrived in the military because I was raised in the military as a military brat.
Right.
Now, obviously, I matured and I gathered some sense of maturity and discipline. But by and large, I didn't get overweight and fat and morbidly obese because I had great internal discipline, right?
Yeah.
So it's important for me to understand that in this journey in YouTube, that I find a tool, and Bubba and I were talking about, we have to find tools to do what we want to get done. Sometimes you need a Phillips head, sometimes you need a flathead, sometimes you need a hammer, sometimes you need a crowbar. You got to know what you need, when you need it, how to use it. And Bubba said a carpenter is as good as his tools, and tools are as good as a carpenter. So it's a symbiotic relationship, and we need to understand where we fall in that.
Yeah, I mean, getting back to like some of the YouTubers that just specifically on the carnivore side, I don't think a lot of them really want to. They're not doing it to get rich, like because one, carnivore is going to have you're going to have a very limited crowd with carnivore, no matter how popular it gets, compared
Right.
to other things on YouTube. But I think it's good because one, it's they want to document their experience. They want to maybe give support for other people that are doing the same thing. And I think those are the videos that I like that I'm kind of drawn to, and
Mm-hmm.
they may not get a lot of fun, but the content is kind of real, They're not trying to sell anything. They're just, hey, this is my experience,
Kind of like the Truman Show.
a little bit, yeah. But yeah, I mean, like, we were talking about this whole, the monetization thing. Like, there was a guy that I was watching. This is not he's keto, but his channel is a little bit about a lot of other stuff, But he put out one video that kind of went viral, and he got monetized like really quick. And I was kind of talking to him offline, and he was like, man, once you get monetized, it's like you want to just start attracting more people. So you have to expand. You can't talk about one topic anymore. You got to diversify.
It's addictive.
Yeah.
It can be addictive.
Yeah.
What do you think, Robert?
Yeah, it is an addiction. Totally.
Well, watching it's an addiction too. I mean, you can sit there all day watching YouTube.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Hey, by the way, I want to make sure we did have someone mention early on about loving Snoopy. By the way, did you see that, Bubba?
No, I didn't know.
Oh yeah, there was let me see. I'm trying to go back, but someone said, oh, they love the Snoopy being in there. So I just want to let you know that I think you have a couple of videos sometimes that talks that shows a finger painting in the background. It's right behind your head now.
Oh yeah, there's a Snoopy there and a teddy bear. Yeah.
But behind you on the wall is a finger painting.
Yeah. My kids did that when they were young.
I love that stuff. So you can tell by some of my art that I wouldn't say I was completely sophomore, but I like that abstract and I like to do things. So I really appreciated that and everything. But to address what Butch just saying, he says that he thinks we'd be lying if we didn't say we want to be monetized. Or the potential.
I think that's true too, because you do want some positive reinforcement for your effort, right?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I can't deny that. I have to say though that getting monetized on YouTube, it's probably more likely than becoming a professional football player or professional baseball player, but it's in the same league, you know?
Yeah, I think it's extremely tough. I mean, I shouldn't. I'm not going to mention any names, but I was I was had the curiosity was getting to the cat today, right?
Okay.
So I go to my subscriptions and I'm looking at different carnivore channels, like okay, and see how people's videos are going. And what I've noticed with myself and yourself, even though I've had maybe I don't know 4 or 5 videos hit like 1,500 or 2,000 or something like that, but most of them were only getting like 50 or 80. But now I'm averaging like maybe 150 to 300 a view. But it's a steady progression, right?
Right.
And I've noticed some of the bigger ones the last couple of weeks have had a huge decline. Like
Yeah.
we're talking 300-400%. And I find that quite interesting.
Well, wouldn't you think that so you and I have both, you've been doing it for 6 months.
Yeah.
I've been doing it for 2. David, how long have you been doing this again?
You're talking about the carnivore diet?
Yeah.
Since January, so it's getting close to 10 months.
Okay. So we got a pretty good spread here, right?
Yeah.
I would submit that in my 2 months of actively engaging in the community, but my sporadic engagement over 4 years, okay,
Mm-hmm.
it's hit a growth cycle and it's now cycling down a little bit because you can only hear. I can only surmise that there are only so many times you can hear I eat meat and I'm losing weight.
Well, how
Yeah.
many times or how many people got to do a video on what is it making the caramelized butter bites? I mean,
What I ate today.
yeah,
Right. But
I stay completely away from it.
I don't disagree with you, but I'm just saying in general terms, right?
Yeah.
And the people who are really big, they're trying to find content. Content is king. But to address what Woodster's saying, I see what you're saying. 1,696 NFL players in 2021, 2 million monetized YouTube channels. Right. How many people are on YouTube?
Hundreds of millions.
So if I take hundreds of millions of people putting out content, over 2 million monetized. I mean, I don't know. I could do the math if you wanted me to, but I think that the analogy holds up pretty good. I mean, take Bill Knott from Alaska, okay?
Yeah.
I have come to a place where I'm a champion for Bill, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm a champion for you, Robert. I'm a champion for Carnivore Kip, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that the protege of wait,
I didn't hear.
the guy in Alaska?
Yes.
The guy that recently kind of came on.
Yes.
He was kind of introduced by Carrie.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I've seen a couple of his videos. Yeah.
So Bill Knott is in an almost enviable position. Enviable in his one-day monetization effort on YouTube. Enviable in the number of people who are caring about him. And I think the people really do care. Not enviable because he's 700 pounds sitting on a bed in his home.
Yeah, I was
Right?
about to say that, man.
Right. So, and you got lightning in a bottle, right? All I can say is that I wish him the best. I want him to succeed. I'm going to be there with him and doing what I can along the way, along with thousands and thousands of other people. But my story is not going to be his story. And that's the imperative.
And So I've been watching carnivore videos now for probably over 10 months. And
Okay.
over the 10 months, there's a lot of channels that I'm not watching anymore. I mean, it's not so much that I don't like the channels, but you after a while, some of the channels are the same thing over and over again. But over the 10 months, I've probably, you know, uh, what I'm watching now is completely different than what I was watching, 10 months ago. Now, there's some that I'm continually watching. Most of the doctors and cardiologists, I find a lot of their, presentations pretty fascinating. And I don't watch all of their videos, but yeah, there was a girl. Her name was Claire. She was from France. She had a pretty good YouTube channel. It was really like it was. I was looking at her subscriptions, and she was doing really, really well, and I was enjoying her videos. And poof, she got a new job and
She went
disappeared.
keto.
Yeah, she did. Right. She was going to go, but it's fine. She wanted to eat a little bit more vegetables, and maybe enjoy a glass of wine here and there. Of course, she is in France, but you know, she completely stopped all her videos. I mean, she actually removed them all off her channel. And I think it had something to do with who she was working for. She probably didn't want any kind of, anything,
Conflict.
conflict maybe with what she was doing. And I don't know, but I was like, yeah, it's a shame but that was the whole thing. It's like, hey, the carnivore thing isn't her life. She was putting out videos and, it was her interest, but it wasn't a career thing for her because as soon as she was able to get a really good job opportunity, she just dropped all the carnivore videos. So, I guess that's how it goes.
I understand that, and I think Woodster's talking about it here. I mean, it's very easy to get burnt out on one flavor. Things people like a Truman Show event. I know people want a champion. People want to engage with somebody who's actively, but I don't think they like being toyed with. You can do a little bit of this and a little bit of that, but I think you can overplay your hand very quickly.
Yeah.
Chasing things, and so it takes a lot to do this. I think about a month ago, I could be wrong, but a YouTube influencer committed suicide.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Right.
A
Yeah.
really big one. I love to come in. I made my first long form video today. Probably took me all of an hour to do it, to speak it, to edit it, and to put it up, right? And that's about the amount of energy I want to put into because not being monetized, having a life, trying to get my body in shape, trying to do these different things. I mean, I'm thinking about Woodster now, he has young children and he got a job and a wife and a life to do. Bubba, you're working. I don't know your status, David, but in all of this, my wife, I mean, I'm doing this after show, after party, late night thing, 4 nights a week. And that's it. Had to draw a line. Could I do this 7 nights a week on my own personality? You betcha. Can I talk for 4 hours nonstop by myself? You betcha. But I want to maintain this.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's one of the main reasons I'm not doing any YouTube production is, it's like I said, I can't think of anything different than what is already out there, and I'm not trying to I wouldn't want to, except for documenting what I'm doing, but there's thousands of carnivores out there doing that. So, you know, I don't think I'm going to put anything out that's going to be meteoric, who's going to be apart from the crowd. But yeah, man, I kind of lost my train of thought. I was about to say something about the, well, just go ahead, man. I'll think about it. I wanted to interject something real quick, and I just lost my train of thought. But
And
anyway,
welcome to the club. What do you got, Bubba?
Well, I just think you gotta do what your passion is. If you don't have any passion for it, then there's no point.
right, yeah, because my
And,
heart, yeah, exactly.
and passion should drive you more than money.
Right. And I know one thing because my son was doing in Japan. He was quite successful at it. I think he had one video that hit 8.8 million views. So, he's very, very sharp. And that was part of his schooling too. It was a communications degree, right? But what we've talked about is like if I want to hit a higher level than where I'm at, I really have to treat it like a full-time job.
Yeah.
And I have to be willing to transition into different subjects because you've already hit the nail on the head. The carnivore diet is fairly limited at this point. And so if you wish to be successful in the sense where you're actually monetized, it's got to be a lot more than just like I say, cooking caramelized butter bites.
I get that.
Now I remember what I wanted to say.
Go ahead.
Yeah, are you familiar with the carnivore couple? Oh my gosh, is it Carnivore Quest? Maybe.
Yeah, that's
Husband
one
and
couple.
wife.
You got the Browns, you got the Carnivore Quest, and you got keto crazy or keto kids.
I think the husband's name is Larry, I think.
Yeah, Larry, you got it.
Okay. Did you see the video? And I mean, it was probably the best video I've seen, but where I was glued to the screen, where he put out a video a couple of weeks ago about why they don't do collaborations. He wanted to address something. And then he went into basically the story of his life and how he got to this point, and it had to do with his sister being murdered, and then his mother being murdered, and then them almost being. Did you listen to that story? That was probably the best, probably by far the most interesting thing I had seen on YouTube in quite some. And I was like, how is this not a movie? Like these people. It was an incredible story, and once I realized what everything they've been through, it was only made their videos a little more interesting. Cause it's like, man, all the stuff they've been through. I don't know if did you see it?
I
saw parts of it.
Oh my gosh, man! And then he did a follow up with. I think he did a follow up with a little bit. People had more questions about some things, and I think his follow up video was not as long, but it was incredible. Now I don't watch all their videos. They actually put out some pretty good videos over the couple of years, or over the year I've been watching. But I don't watch them all because most of them are almost like reruns. With their cooking that day, how good Element is.
Yeah.
I mean, they're almost the same, but every now and then there's a great video. So I will check a lot of these channels and I'll see what the video is. I'm like, I'm gonna watch this one. Looks interesting. But most of them, I know what they're going to be. They're going to be cooking something. I
know.
This is how I pooped.
Yeah, a little bit.
I got into a discussion.
That's why carnivore is going to be very limited.
I got into a discussion the other day about me not telling enough of my life stories because I got lots of stories and some tough ones.
Yeah.
But they said, why don't you say more right now? I said, well, if I tell them all now, nobody's going to want to listen to me later.
Now, the guy Carey, I forget the name of his, Homesteader or something.
Homestead How.
A lot of times his videos are pretty good because they'll be out at the movie. I guess they own a movie theater, so they'll have something going on in the movie theater. So, I mean, it's not, sometimes all of his videos are not all totally like sitting in front of the stove cooking something or talking. But yeah, I mean, he's got a matter of fact, he's got an Airbnb on his property, which is kind of interesting. But I mean, some of his videos are pretty interesting, and he's got a very magnetic personality. But yeah, I mean, that's why we keep talking about that. But yeah, the carnivore, man, there's only so much you can say in a carnivore, on a carnivore channel,
Well,
unless
now I don't disagree with you saying there, David, in principle, but I would say that a format like this is not a typical carnivore format, right?
No.
Right.
And I would say that um, an artist given a palette and a canvas can do incredible things on some days, and other days they're doing maybe a repeat, right?
Yeah.
So I believe it's what you were talking about in the carnivore couple was what Larry was talking about, his story.
Hmm.
And I believe his wife is battling cancer, right?
Possibly. Yeah.
Yeah, possibly. It's these human interest stories. So there has been a lesson I've heard before that
Yeah.
says content is king. You
Yeah.
know, I mean, I've got a friend who lives up in Nashville, about 90 miles north of me, and he is a songwriter producer, and he's done quite well. He can pay for his houses, and all this stuff. So he's done well, and he's been burned more times than you can count by investing in artists and them going a different way or doing some things, right? But the idea of it, he's still doing the same thing, producing and writing country music. So I don't know that the um, topic is limiting as much as the creator is limiting. So I had a Twitch channel. I got involved in Twitch, talking gaming, right?
Yeah.
With some very popular people who were doing gaming. And the ones I stopped at were girls and ladies and guys who wore their clothes because I'm not really into the whole semi-nude thing anymore, right? Um, I was captivated and rewarded them with my watch hours and my times and tips because of the content they created and what they brought. I mean, part of the content creation is about being consistent. It's about being relatable, right?
Yeah.
If there's a common thread that brings people together, you can make it work,
Yeah.
but it's inherent. Look at Oprah, talk show host talking to people,
Yeah.
right? You get sort of there's just this is not rocket science, but it's not cookie cutter either.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't get me wrong. It may sound like I'm like coming down on
Oh
the
no, no, no,
carnivore
no, no.
YouTube,
We're
but
expounding.
I mean, that's what keeps me kind of motivated because I there's quite a few channels I like to watch. I don't watch, I just don't watch them all because I'll see what it's about. I'm like, yeah, okay, but I mean, they're motivating, and they keep me motivated. Matter of fact, there was quite a few channels that that I was watching to kind of figure out, hey, I need to figure out some better, some a little more variety than just eating eggs and a quart and a pound of beef, every meal. But like I need to figure out some better ways to cook, which that was why I was liking Dante Ferrigno's, because he had some of his and also Old Guy Carnivore, you know, there was some stuff that he cooked. As simple as his show is, I really like a lot of his videos. The cranky old guy. I really like his channel though, and I really would like to meet that guy. But
I I like semi-retired Bob because his format is he's walking and he's talking and you
yeah,
see the street signs going by and he talk. I watch a lot of different people based on
yeah,
their personality, but like some of the people here are saying in the comments, sometimes a 5 minute, sometimes a 20 minute, sometimes a 15.
yeah,
It takes there's a whole host of things, and I think that's what's beautiful about YouTube. I don't know about you all, but I mean I tried to find the end of the internet, right?
yeah,
And I've been out far and wide like the Star Trek, but I've got all these filters, and I can go. I just want to see these today. I want to see those today. I want to.
yeah,
So I think that in the long run, we're given a lot of opportunity
yeah,
to interact with those we choose to interact with, and all we can do as for Bubba and myself as content creators is remember why we're doing this. Try to do our I don't want to say do our best. I'm not a Boy Scout, but try to honor and respect the viewer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And from there, you know what? You just go into the bold and unknown, because bottom line is, if we say we knew it all, we'd be lying.
Yeah.
I think sometimes the fear and trepidation is the excitement. Like Bubba knows when he walks in the gym, after he straps up and he's ready to go, he knows he's going to push some heavy weights and he knows what it's about. That part never changes. The part that changes is, how good am I going to feel through this rep? How's my body talking to me? Hey, can I push another 2 or 3 pounds? Right?
Mm-hmm.
It's respecting the process, following a goal. And for me, the goal is that people come in here and they interact. So tonight has been quite successful for interacting. My goal is not, did I
Yeah. So
get a whole bunch more followers?
before I don't have the access to the comments because I'm using my iPhone right now. But
Oh.
so I mean, yeah, it's a couple of people. Yeah, somebody from Australia.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Limitless Lindy.
I find that amazing that how far how far the reach goes. With YouTube, you get people from all over the world sometimes on I was on Old Guy Carnivores, and actually the meetup last week. I was
Mm-hmm.
looking at people. There was people from all over the world that had initially, people South America. I think I saw a couple people from South
Yeah,
America. I saw
Alia.
somebody from. It's like, wow, that's some incredible reach. When you think about it, that's one of the things that's phenomenal about YouTube. Like besides Carnivore, man, YouTube has saved me a lot of money. Car repairs. I've learned so much about repairing cars, doing some light carpentry work, DIY stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, YouTube is fantastic for that kind of stuff. And like this, the whole carnivore thing. Without YouTube, I would have never. I don't know where I would have learned about carnivore. You know, I mean, or at least all the get into the weeds, because it's kind of hard to can't just go to the library. Maybe there's a couple of books, but it'd be difficult to really and then get the support
I
that
think you
YouTube
hit on
provides.
that important social aspect of the power and the freedom that something like this brings, right? I mean, Bubba's up there in British Columbia. Um, I don't believe that British Columbia is Mars, but
Yeah,
it
that's
seems
way up
so
there.
out of reach for a guy who was born in New Mexico, raised in West Texas, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I just think you're right, David. That now I did the military thing, so I got to go around the world, see not much of the world as a Navy guy might have, but I got to see a good amount of the world, and I'm blessed for that. But you're right. This whole ability of this technology allows us to make a community of like-minded people that we might not find in East Lower Nowhere, Texas. Right? I
Yep.
might find 2 or 3 people that might share my interest, but I've already made them angry because I'm a jerk. So they're not going to be in my circles. With the internet, I can make my circle of people who don't know I'm a jerk, and I can make
Yeah.
new friends and maybe leave that old one behind.
Yeah. Years ago, in 1997, 98, around that time frame, I had a really bad triglyceride problem. It was just way off the chart. And a doctor this is at the naval base, instead of prescribing me statin, she said, "Look, I think you ought to just lose weight first." And I said, "Okay, great." And I mean, internet was at its infancy back then, and I went on. I remember I asked somebody about, like suggest a good diet book, and I think I did that on Google. I just Googled diet books. One of the first ones that came up was a book called Sugar Busters,
Right?
and that was my little Bible that I carried around. I ordered it and got it in, and that was my sole source of a diet for about a year. And then but there was nothing else. You know, I read the book front cover to cover, tried to go to libraries to learn more, but there was very little on that particular diet. And it's very much like a modified Atkins with some more allowances to it. Basically, it's almost like a Mediterranean-based diet, I guess, you know, but just easy on the carbs. But anyway, there was no system for it, you know, like it is with this, with carnivore, man. I mean, or even keto. Like back then, I just had that book, you know. I was just trusting what the book said. I couldn't reach out to anybody else that was on the Sugar Busters diet. Couldn't. I think I found a forum at one time. Remember those?
Yeah.
I found a forum for Sugar Busters, you know, and I was on the forum, you know, trying to communicate with people. But that was really it, you know. There was no, I mean, I don't think YouTube existed back. No, YouTube wasn't around that. If it was not what it is now.
You had the dial. How about you?
Yeah.
How about you, Bubba? How about your experience with technology and community and all that?
Well, I don't know. I've got to meet some nice people, but it's a little bit different than actually physically meeting somebody in person.
Sure.
And I'll be very blunt. I think also there's kind of some cliquey groups in here too.
You think?
Oh yeah.
Good. Yeah. Well, you know that carnivore couple we're talking about. They're having a meetup in South Carolina.
They had it this last weekend.
Oh, was it? Okay. I remember they were, you know, they were I don't know what I'm sure they're going to do a video on it. I need to check in and see what that meetup. I wonder how many people showed up, you know, but that's kind of cool, you know, having
I think there are about
something-
40 people there from some of the pictures I saw from Carnivore Kip and some other people. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Cause I mean, if it had been a little bit closer, I'd actually driven out there. I wouldn't have mind, you know, doing
Where you
something.
at, David?
Kind of fun. I'm in South Louisiana.
Okay,
near
I know.
Lafayette.
Okay, I know Lafayette because I was in New Iberia.
Whoa. Okay. Right down.
I was
next
down
town
in
over.
Yeah, I know. I was in New Iberia for after the 2 days after Hurricane Katrina.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
I headed up a team from my church. We sent down some medical people. We got a bunch of medical supplies, and they brought me along. I was a combat lifesaver, and I'm also a ham radio operator, and I'm a big, ugly, scary guy.
I'm a ham operator myself.
KC5AYS.
KI5, November Tango Golf. Pretty new.
So,
about 2 years.
Okay, cool. I've been doing it for I don't know how many years. I've renewed my license a few times. But the idea being is, I was down there and it was a great time. It was a hard time. There are a lot of stories from it. Some are good, some are okay, some are not good. But the long and short of it is it's no different than anything else I did in my whole life. There are always people in need.
Yeah, I was stationed.
Was that?
I was stationed in the New Orleans area when it hit.
Okay.
Yeah, we were living in Slidell, Louisiana, and luckily we survived that. You know.
Yeah.
You know, but I was just, you know, luckily we didn't flood. I don't know how we didn't flood, but
you take your wins. You take your wins where you get them.
Yeah, you know how that. I mean, we were in a perfect little high spot in Slidell. We didn't get the storm surge. You know.
Cool. But getting to what Bubba said about cliques and groups of people who are infatuated with their group. You know, this is no different than anything else we've had to deal with in our lives. You know.
No.
Yeah. I think I could see that happening though. You know, some of the channels have their own type of fans. I guess I could see that.
Or maybe like I live in a nice neighborhood, and I would say about a third of the houses. Say third of the houses, give or take, we've all been built sequentially, and we all know each other, so we have really tight network of people, right?
Right.
I've given my keys to people in my neighborhood. They take care of my dogs. I take care of them. We go to appointments. We're very
Yeah.
close knit. Well, if someone in our neighborhood sells a house, there's a house for sale in our neighborhood, one or two have gone up for sale and new people in there. They're not a part of our clique. They may think we're cliquey, but we're not cliquey because we're trying to be exclusive. We're cliquey because we came here at the same time.
Yeah.
Right. So I think the same thing could very well happen here in the digital world. People like, let's say that Bubba
What's
and
the
I.
what's
What's
the
that?
signs that a channel might have a click group though? I mean, I watch a whole bunch of them, and I can't. I mean, I can see it happening, but I'm not sure. I guess you don't want to
Well,
name names, but what's the signs that you got to click?
well,
in a
for
certain-
example, like for myself, I've been before I even started it, I was following a few people, right?
Yeah.
And I've been very supportive, and yet I've never had the support in return.
Oh, okay. I get you.
So, as far as I'm concerned, they're a write-off.
Yeah. In other words,
know,
if you're a fan, I'm gonna use the term. If you're a fanboy, right?
Yeah.
Like you comment, you watch their videos, you comment on their videos, you go into their lives, you participate, and they don't throw you a bone unless you're throwing out a super chat.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Okay, that's problematic.
I
It
got you.
is.
Yeah.
It's
But-
not. It's almost like there's certain people that are chasing one another's tail to feed off of one another's backs, and that's I find that disconcerting.
Well,
I don't mind putting it out there because it's what I see and it's what I feel, and I know I've had discussions with other people in private, and they've had the same experience. They won't talk about it, but it's
Right.
there. It's
So I'll
shit
tell you
amazing.
about an experience I had. So as a young man, I got the chance to be the local roadie for a lot of bands,
Mhm.
you know, and it was a definitely who you knew type thing, you know. So that worked, and I got to see some of the biggest names in music right up front, right? And
Mhm.
some of the people, one of the gentlemen, one person who really made a lasting impression on me was Wayne Newton.
Mhm.
Now, Wayne Newton has a following, particularly then, and this was in the 80s, okay? The early 80s, he had a big following, big name out in Vegas. He had a big following with his demographic. So
Mhm.
his demographic showed up hugely for his concert. You would have thought it was Van Halen, who I've also done this for, right? You would think that was who was showing up with the number of people, if you're just counting butts and seats, right?
Mhm.
But these were all people my age now, not my age then, right? And Wayne Newton went out and he did his little tiny bubbles and he did his thing. And I remember working security. You know, what normally we do with offload trucks, set up the concert, do security, then deconstruct it, put it back in the truck, send them on the way home. Well, in the during the concert, some people would go sell T-shirts, some people would run spotlights, and the rest of us big guys would be security. Well, and I'd have these people trying to jump over the big barricade, and I'd be like, "Please don't do this. You might break a hip, right?" But after the show, right after the show, Wayne is getting up, and they all said to me too. They said, "Now, Scotty, don't mess with his bodyguard." I was okay. Then I saw his bodyguard. I was like, really? Seriously? I could pinch his head and pop it like a pimple, right? This was just a good friend of his, right? Anyway, the show's over. His limo's ready to take him off into the next journey. And there's this group of ladies way back up off the side. I don't know how they got backstage. They weren't backstage, they're in the tunnel. He's getting in his car to go, and he stops. He approaches them. He talks to each one of them. They are giddy like schoolgirls meeting Elvis Presley, right? And it's about 9 of these women, and they outweighed me. They were substantial women. He took pictures with them. He took Polaroids with them. He talked with them. He hugged them. He listened to them. He signed things for them. He didn't have to do that. He remembered who got him where he is. He remembered his fan base, the people, right? That taught me a really valuable lesson. that, like when I got elected, there were certain people that worked and helped me to get elected. After I got elected, I still paid them as much attention as I did in the first days. Right?
What state are you in? I know.
Now I'm in Alabama. Now I'm in Alabama, but this was back in Nebraska.
Okay. Where are you in Alabama by chance?
Near Huntsville.
Okay.
Up north.
Okay.
So
I got to go to Birmingham soon.
Oh, so I get it. So the idea being is that I think here in YouTube too. I mean, Susan is talking about going out and subscribing. Susan says she doesn't have the extra cash laying around to super chat, right? But the important part is she's here and she comments and she engages and she does things and she's so wonderful to be around. I think that's what we're talking about, Bubba, is that.
Yeah, exactly. I find it very distasteful when some of these channels, they're only responding to people that are paying $20 or $50 or $5 to post a question on there.
Right.
And I just find it really rude.
I don't disagree with you, but let's just say that you and I, let's go forward 5 years from now. Let's project 5 years. And you and I are doing this, and instead there's 1,200 people in the channel.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody is going to find a way to draw attention to what they're doing, and we would be like fish with the shiny spinnerbait going by, right?
Mm-hmm.
I do believe it would take a level of focus that I'm not going to say now. I guarantee I'll have in 5 years, because I know when I did that in politics, it was very difficult for me to remember a gentleman who was a senior citizen who had worked for someone three office holders before me, but he was in my district and he wanted and thought he should be in the same level of interaction that he might have been 15 years before.
Mm-hmm.
But it was so different. It was a monumental effort, and there were times when he was heartbroken, and I had to go do a mea culpa and say, "Look, I'm not trying to distance myself. I'm not trying to make you irrelevant, but I'm juggling 17 things right now. I drive 2 hours a day. I've got all these things going on, and yeah, I'll be the first to admit you fell through the cracks. So, I do have an understanding for someone like you. Take Carrie at Homestead How, right? Mm-hmm. He lights up, and there's 800. There could be 700 people in discussion. Mm-hmm. I can barely keep up with 7 people. Mm-hmm. So I don't find, and I love Carrie what he does, and I'm a fanboy through and through. But there are others. I know some that said, look, I can't get a word in edgewise. I can't get a response back. So I drop in. I let my friends know I'm there, and then maybe I'm gone, because I can only invest in what I believe it has a return in relationship value.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they call it the train theory. Do you know what that is?
I'm going to say I follow the car that's pulling me. No, go ahead.
Well, in life, you're the train, right?
Mm-hmm.
The different points of your life, people are going to hop on or hop off the train. Right. It's whether or not you're serving them a purpose, right? So if you're not serving them a purpose, they're not going to pay attention to you and get off. And as soon as they want something from you, they're going to hop on.
So in that, there's this life lesson, isn't there, that says,
yeah,
you're in the business of people getting on and off you,
right? And so, in other words, so what I'm saying is, even though I might find it distasteful if I've given somebody support and they don't pay in return, well, it's my choice to either stay there and be a whipping boy or to move on.
Well, absolutely. And if you don't like Chinese food, don't go in a Chinese restaurant.
Right. And that's the one thing I think I'm very thankful for is like someone like yourself or semi-retired Bob. And there's been a few other people. They may even send me something on like Instagram. But the thing that means the most to me is when somebody gives me a compliment on being authentic.
Right.
So I just try and stay with that through and through.
Well, if you stay true to yourself, if you're an honest, truthful, authentic person, you don't have to wonder what was it I told in the other channel, or what was the special sauce that I used, a year ago, right? You just continue being you. And what David was saying about the wonderfulness and the amazing aspect of the internet and YouTube is, people will come around and be gravitated, and like minds will come in and say, hey, this is a place where I can go to get whatever it is that you're serving up, whether it's stoicism, some kick-ass blues riffs, or the fact that you and your son have an enviable relationship that you're willing to share with other people, right? I mean, people will find, or it could be Snoopy. I don't know. It could be Snoopy. But the idea being is people will get used to, where their cheese is, and they will follow that. It's like people follow fund managers, not funds, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's what you find here. Because I like that personality. I don't like that personality. I like this. Some people don't like. I could not believe it when I heard from some people who were in the chat about Dr. Chafee. They love what Dr. Chafee says. Yes, he's easy on the eyes. He has a tremendous intellect, but he holds some personal beliefs that leads them to say, I can only give you this much time. That isn't to say that they wrote him off, right? Someone may say, hey, Scott, I can only take a small dose of you. My wife tells me that regularly. I can only take you in small doses, right? And that's okay.
Yeah. Geez, what time is it now?
11:20. I got about 10 minutes, and I'm probably going to kick the bucket on this. I can do this for 4 or 5 hours. I have no problem. I can do it, but it's not good for my wife, because she can almost hear my voice going through wall after wall after wall.
Yeah, I know it. It's interesting. I definitely enjoyed the chat tonight. I think it's important. I think your show actually has a much bigger importance than I think you realize, to be honest with you.
Well, thank you.
And I think what's going to happen is the longer you do it, the more it's going to take hold.
Well,
yeah, you kind of find you'll find your that area that you'll do a few videos probably, and then you'll say, you know what, I like doing these, and you get a lot of you get a lot of audience response, I guess, from a certain type of way you do a video, and then you kind of hone your where your videos go, I guess. I mean, I'm just speaking as somebody that watches a lot of videos. You kind of see where a lot of these new channels go, sometimes. Like
well,
they're kind of all over the place at first, and then they kind of settle into a certain
right.
way of doing them.
Well, I tell you honestly, David, I was very much agonizing over video content, and what I decided to do was I'll throw out some content, I'll throw out some shorts, but my content is this format.
Right.
I come in with the late night after party, whatever you want to call it, the gathering, and say this is a place where people can come unscripted, I don't want to say uninvited, but free form. You show up at the coffee shop, you show up around the pickle barrel, you got something to say. Everybody seems to be adults so far. We can have differing opinions, and come on in if you want it. Some nights people jump in, some nights they don't.
Yeah.
Some nights I do an hour, some nights I do 4 hours. But the idea is this is an organic opportunity I had Limitless Lindy came in one night. She'd never been on before, never did a live before. Gave it an opportunity. This is a great stage. My goal here is just about non-scale victories. Share your thoughts. Let's see what happens here. Let's mix it up a little bit so that it becomes something that's dynamic, that's hopefully different.
Yeah. I was talking to Mitch offline, old guy Carnivore, about like it's great to do things virtually, but I was thinking, like, in my area, I don't know anybody personally like that lives around my little area in Lafayette who's carnivore, right? And I was thinking, I said, it's kind of like put a little ad in the newspaper, says, "Hey, carnivore eaters, we're having a meetup." Kind of like Alcoholics Anonymous meets once a week in these places, or all these different anonymous type. It's like, man, it's almost like you need to find out who are the carnivore eaters in Lafayette, where are they, and like meet once a month, once a week, just to socialize face to face with other people that are following this diet. Because
Well,
like
they
you
have
said,
an app. They have an app for that.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm behind the times. What is that app?
Meetup.
Oh, okay. I know that app. Yeah. I
Right.
don't think
But
about
I mean,
using
you
that.
can form something. You can go to
Yeah.
YouTube and I mean to Facebook, right?
I've heard of that. I never even thought of using it in that way. But I know
Yeah.
I'm gonna jot that down because um like, I don't know. There is a place in Lafayette. It's basically it's a little diner, but most of their menu is keto. Um, and I mean, the guy that owns it is a major keto guy. So now I don't eat there usually because most of the stuff in there I don't really want to eat. It's like too much carbs. But it's a good place. It's still a good place to go to. And I keep thinking, I need to go over there and talk to that guy and find out if he has, like, because there is a big keto crowd that goes there. So I was like, I'm thinking, like, maybe there's some carnivore guys there too. So I keep thinking of getting in touch with that guy and find out, like, do y'all ever have any, like, get-togethers or whatever. Because
Yeah, I think
stuff like this is kind of fun.
yeah, I mean they do that all the time in different places where they'll have like a karaoke group that shows up someplace or something, right? I mean, our local Mexican restaurants, they got a karaoke guy, they got a bingo person. They even do. We had a local chain here called Jack's. It's a hamburger joint. They've got a bingo night that shows up there, right? The whole idea is if you go to that guy and you say, "Look, I'd like to expand your tent a little more to include some carnivorous type people," right? I bet she's going to say, "Yeah, come on in. It's a great idea, right?" And then you'll find more people that do it. I mean, I think that's a great way to attack it. When I used to be in business development, and I do help little companies become big companies, right? I always told people, why are you trying to do all the work yourself? Be a value added sub to any company, a big company, be a value added sub. And then when you get growed up enough and you understand your work, your space, then maybe you can go out there on your own and be a prime contractor. Well, I would say the same to you. Just go out there, find somebody else who's already invented the wheel, already got the customer and client base, and say, "Hey," and then make a little Facebook, make a little meetup thing, and then talk to that person and say, "Hey, can you put something on the menu that you call, there's a little more meat centric?"
Yeah.
And he'll be like, "Sure."
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. All right.
Definitely.
Do you have much of a carnivore community up there, Bubba?
I don't know, not really. I've run into a few people, but
maybe the hunters.
Yeah. Well, there's lots of hunters up here.
You see, that's a great idea. When I was in office, I hate to say that often, but it gave me the greatest variety of exposure. So I apologize. They did a annual, semi-annual game feed, right?
Mm-hmm.
I bet you there's hunt groups that do game feeds in groups. You say, well, I happen to be this, and you kind of work through that. And I bet you more people. Hey, hello there, Carnivore Transformer friend. How are you? Good to see you. Good to see you. Good morning. Make sure we talk to some folks. But I think that our community is bigger than we think. But I also believe that we scare people when we use terms like carnivore instead of saying, hey, I'm on an elimination diet, I'm on a keto-centric diet. I don't believe personally that it's inappropriate to couch your approach according to the audience you're in front of, right?
It was like I was saying earlier. Usually when I meet somebody, I usually don't say I'm carnivore. They'll just say, "Hey, man, how did you lose so much weight?" I'm like, "I've just been eating I just cut out a lot of junk, you know." Like, what kind of junk? And I'll tell them. Then I'll start divulging a little more. Then I'll say, let's say, it's pretty much a keto type diet, which it is, you know, because I'm in ketosis nonstop.
Right.
I don't think I'm ever out of ketosis anymore. I stopped testing. I'm always maxed out.
Yeah. There you go. So I think there's a great inroad for each of us there, and I'm looking forward. I'd like to do a meetup either in Nashville, Paducah, or maybe Birmingham or something.
How about Mount Chia State Park? That's near Birmingham. That's where I'm going to. Yeah.
Oh, I've been there. It's the tallest mountain in Alabama. It's also, did you know it's the oldest geologic formation in Alabama?
Oh, didn't know that, but I've raced up that mountain. The Chia Challenge. It's a 100-mile race. It goes to the top of Mount Chia from like Anniston.
Right.
It goes all the way up to the top of Chia, then it comes back, and it loops back around down back to Anniston. It's about a 100-mile run.
I bet you that downhill goes a lot faster than the uphill.
Oh, the downhill is very fast.
I'm not very intelligent, but I can figure that one out. I get the physics of that. But okay, so let me ask them. I'm going to get ready to wrap this up. So what I'd like to do is, I'd like to give each of you an opportunity to say something about what you want to talk about, and maybe about something coming up in the next few days or week or so for you, as far as what you're either doing life-wise or carnivore-wise. David, why don't you go ahead and lead off real quick?
Oh, well, thanks for inviting me. It was fun, and it was good to meet Bubba. Bubba, I'm gonna check out your channel, man, and I'll leave you some motivation, man. Don't worry.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, no problem. Actually, I was invited on Wednesday. I'm going to be on the Carnivore Soldiers Hump Day meetup, I guess. He asked me if I wanted to attend. I said, sure. So I'll be on there. And anyway, that's going to be the highlight for my week, I guess. And I had a good time doing this. And like, I hope the people that, I'm not sure how many are still on board here right now, but and if there's some new people, man, just stick to the diet, man, and just don't give up on it, because it took me a few weeks to get calibrated. And once you are, man, when you kind of locked in, and it's easy to follow, just stick to it.
You don't get any easier than saying I eat meat.
Man, you talk about 10 minutes you're eating.
That's right. So what about you, Bub? What you got?
I'm just waiting for carnivore groupies.
I heard you scratch and sniff. I heard you get scratch and sniff comment too. So,
well, you know, the funny thing is they were talking to me about the calendar, so of course I said, well, you need to make it scratch and sniff. And then the part I left out was I said, well, maybe you should make it a pop-up book.
Whoa.
You know,
it's late night. It's like Max at night over here now.
Yeah. So I mean, you gotta have a little bit of fun with it, right? I mean, you can be a little too prim and proper and have no fun. But
that's cool, man.
Yeah, I think you just gotta have a good sense of humor, and I guess myself or whoever is, just put up the good fight and don't get disappointed. But I think you just got to make sure that you're put in the work so that you can stand on your own, because people can disappoint you, and it's usually because of our own perceptions. So you got to kind of stick with it and just let things go.
Yeah, I agree. And I like the way you sign out of your videos there, Bubba, when you tell people that you care about them, that you love them, to be kind and to be good at whatever it is that they're attempting to be, and be a good person, be kind, be good, whether you're a good biker, a good whatever, a good rainbow, a unicorn, whatever you are, be good at it. And I think that is a laudable way to sign off with people and to let people know that, hey, we're all in this boat together. We aren't in separate boats. You know how they say a rising tide lifts all boats? We're kind of all in this boat together. And that when we have an increased understanding and awareness of the people around us, and when we are healthier, when we're more metabolically healthy, when our mental acuity is healthy, when our outlook is resilient, and we're not only welcoming but inviting and capable of entertaining different viewpoints, I think that really bodes well for our future, and that our future, meaning not just carnivores, not just men or women, not just Americans, but like we said, we have a global community here, right? That we touch. And I would love someone to come in and say, hey, we have diversity, we have all these other things going on, but the most important thing is we have freedom of thought. And that is probably one of my greatest concerns, is that freedom of thought is being eliminated. And that's no bueno. And I think that doing this is how we get that out. And I just appreciate the two of you spending the time. Thank you, David, for taking a risk. You don't know what you're getting into when you say, hey, I'll jump into a live.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I had a good time, man. I mean, it's great to talk to other carnivores, like this. There's no one around me that's like that,
Yeah, I get it. And for Bubba, you jumped in, and Bubba and I have been in here some nights where we have, I come from a strong Christian background. We have a lot of people who are strong Christian backgrounds, and we'll be very vocal about it. And other people will come in with different backgrounds, and you know what? It's okay. We're gonna find our common ground. And I just think that when someone comes back, I mean, anybody can show up once. But when you come back and you re-engage, I mean, Bubba, you said you like when people leave comments to say that your content was thought-provoking.
Yeah, authentic,
right? I think that I like it that people are willing to come in here and mix it up and share their thoughts and give their feelings. And I think, I've got Susan over here, and we've got all the different people who are commenting, and we had Woodster earlier. And I just love this community that has formed up here, and I really want to encourage people to come back, and I want to encourage people to say, hey, you don't want to have a channel like David? That's fine. You got a camera, you got a phone. Let's come on and share, and feel free, and feel that this is a safe environment to be who you are, because you're worth it.
Yeah, I don't mind being the sidekick, man.
I don't know about Ed McMahon, I guess, to Johnny Carson.
Yeah.
Well, the long and short of it is, we're going to do this. I'm going to try to be here each Monday through Thursday. I'll leave Fridays and weekends for the superstars, and I can't peg a time, but I can try to not step on too many other people's lives.
Yeah.
So.
Well, great. I had a good time, man. It was good meeting you guys, and yeah, I'll be watching the videos, man.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
All right, man. I appreciate you, and thank you all for coming. Graham, I don't mean to leave so soon, but we've been at it for 2.5 hours, so it's time for Scotty to turn into a pumpkin and let you all go. Y'all take care now. Good night and God bless.
Okay, good night. Bye-bye.
All right.